Hello everyone and welcome to Avantika Designeering Series or ADS as we like to call it. Every week on Wednesday, we feature design and technology leaders who share their professional journey, their thoughts on their domain of work, and designeering where the world of design and engineering meet. Make sure you follow us on social media Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And with that, let's continue with your show.
Developing your creative thinking skills is highly beneficial for any field of work. After all, every domain needs people that can come up with best solutions to the everyday problems that arise. And creativity is a critical solution to that. With creative thinking, your ideas are constantly evolving with each new attempt and each new insight drawn from the user's need at hand. To understand the importance of creative thinking more deeply, in this episode, we interact with Prabhat Mahapatra, design manager at Adobe Design Lab. With professional experience of around 2 decades in the design industry, he holds his expertise in creative thinking, product, graphics, and space design. And that's why on our journey of discovering designeering, we talk to him about the cloud of creative thinking. Hello, Prabhat. Welcome to Avantika Designeering podcast series. It's a pleasure and honor to host you on our show today.
Hi, Rohit. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. So let's start with our ice-breaking question. Prabhat, if you see, it is very common in creative field where one gets stuck in a situation or have a creative block. In fact, many people end up having self-doubt as well. My question is, one, have you ever faced it? And second, if you have, how do we train our mind to see things through different perspectives in such situations?
Absolutely. Who doesn't go through it? I feel it's a part of the creative process itself. Stopping, taking a hard, close look at oneself, at one's work, of questioning what really matters to you. It's like when you're on a long road trip, you need to take breaks, stop and have some chai, stretch for a while. I feel creative blocks are signs that you need to take one in your creative journeys. What has worked for me is to step back from the work, indulge in things other than the project you're working on, maybe take a walk, listen to your favorite album, your favorite podcast, doodle, read a book, tend to your garden, cook, whatever allows you to create a mind space for having a conversation with yourself. I found that some of my biggest bursts of creative growth are preceded by a long creative block. So I say embrace it. It's part of the creative journey.
Wow, interesting. And it's a common phenomena, as you rightly said. And for most of us, I think taking a break from work, maybe taking external inspiration, like reading a book, doing something which is creative, something that you enjoy, helps us to get back in those energetic moments as well. In fact, Prabhat, you've had an exciting journey. You've done your formal education in industrial design, worked in product, graphic, as well as space design. You've had an entrepreneurial background too, and now at Adobe. Can you take us through your professional years of your life and how did all of this happen? Did you think through all of this? Did you stumble upon all of these? How have all of these years worked for you?
Wow, very interesting question. Makes me go back to the times when I was studying engineering. I've, as a person, always believed in a statement I read somewhere, which says, make work play and you'll be playing all your life. And that really stuck with me. And during my engineering, I kept imagining my future, about the space I would be sitting and working in, what I'll be doing when I finally graduate as an engineer, what industry do I join. And I've always sketched and been good at painting and drawing back from school days. So that's always been with me. And during my final years of engineering, I started reading up on what after engineering, right? Is it a master's? Is it something else? And I happened to stumble across a couple of articles around industrial design, statements like form follows function. And as I read more into it and started understanding what design is and where can you study and learn more about design in India, reading up about institutes like the National Institute of Design or the Industrial Design Center at IIT Bombay, that really got me excited. And I felt there was a natural connect between me being able to sketch, tell a story, solve problems, and more importantly, be close to users. As a person, I have always loved observing people, how they go about doing it. I started doing that as street photography, which moved into sketching. And finally, I think I took this exam, which is called the SEED, Common Entrance Exam in Design, in my third year of engineering. I had not prepared anything, and I just wanted to, do a test run in my third year. Usually, how uh, Indian students grow up to be, giving these pre-tests and trying to identify what to work on. And to my amazement, the score that I got was pretty high. And based on that, I applied to various IITs in my final year. Uh, and when I had come down to IIT Bombay for my interview at the Industrial Design Center, this was during the monsoons. The IIT campus, the Powai campus, is lovely during that time. Lake on one side, hills on one side. So I would say rather than thinking with my head, it was a decision from the heart. I decided, hey, this is where I want to spend the next 2 years of my life. And I got into product design at IDC. Post IDC, I was lucky to find a company which had just moved from US and was starting their business in India. And the best part was this company, which was called as Idea back then. It is called Lumium now. Dealt in patents. What we did was work with patent holders and gave them an opportunity to convert their patent documents into actual prototypes, engineered products. And I loved that job. We got to speak to so many inventors over the course of my time with the company, have early morning calls. These were inventors from US and all over the world. So that was my first job at Idea. After spending some time at Idea, I wanted to do more than product. I wanted to understand what else is there in design, and that led me to co-found a small studio, which we lovingly called as Design Daku at Noida. We moved back to Noida and ran that. At Design Daku, we indulged ourselves with not just products, but took the products into packaging into retail spaces, exhibition design, and so forth. And it also gave me an opportunity to understand business development a bit. Uh, Whether I liked it or not, I had to sort of jump into it. And along with running Design Daku, I also used to teach product design courses as visiting faculty in Delhi. That startup we had to sort of close down after a couple of years because of personal reasons. And while I was still doing a lot of freelance work with my existing clients, I got this strange call one morning from Adobe. And they had looked up my profile and wanted to speak to me about an opportunity. Till this time, I had never done anything which is termed as user experience design, right? Uh, for me, it was not anything different from what we did in product or any other form of design, understanding users, understanding their needs, and sort of designing accordingly, but nothing specific to UX or UI design. And when I received that call, that was my first comment. Hey, are you sure you are reaching out to the right person? But as I spoke to others in the team, the people who were sort of interviewing towards the hiring, I realized Adobe at that point was looking for someone from the industry who could bring that experience back into the product. And as a designer, we sort of grow have grown with apps from Adobe, right? They are the bread and butter for the industry. And this was a chance to sort of look behind the curtains of these products and see how they are made and what goes into it, and also a chance to learn about UI design. So I took the plunge. I was lucky to be working on Adobe Illustrator as one of the designers. And that was my start at Adobe. An amazing team, an amazing product, a lot of learning. And after a couple of years of having dabbled in Adobe Illustrator design, I got this chance to sort of bring about a team together which looked at emerging technologies at Adobe and how they can be translated into various solutions for our users. This team is called the Design Lab, which I am currently heading. And this has been my journey till now. Looking back, it feels like a blur, but definitely enjoyed getting this question because it gave me the opportunity sort of, look back at those fond memories.
So, in fact, what's exciting, Prabhat, to know is you have a design lab at Adobe. And while I was speaking, a few episodes ago with Ramesh, who is the director of design at Walmart, they also have the design lab concept. The question that I asked him and the question that I have for you as well, why do you call these separately as design labs? Why aren't they just design department in your organization and a bunch of people or a team which works on it? Why are they carved out as a separate niche called as the design labs?
So, to answer that question, let me take you back to our thoughts when we decided to start the design lab, which in fact is a part of the design team within Adobe. It's just a small group made out of designers who have worked with different products and uh, have interests and backgrounds in design and related fields. So Design Lab was in fact started as an experimental space, allowing for folks to sort of indulge in some of their thoughts and ideas beyond the products that they have been working on, and that is the reason why it had to be sort of created separately, because uh, like any other bigger industry with design is a team working with development. There is already a process, right? There is a release cycle, and we need to sort of move through these cycles in a sort of well-oiled machinery, so to say. And what we realized is while going through these cycles of releases, it didn't allow for designers to sort of take a pause, think more openly about not just the product, but the future of these products, right? And when you are trying to imagine the future, you need to sort of speculate the technologies, the social and cultural stories in that future, and bring it back. And to be able to do that, we wanted to create a separate space where we can have these critical discussions. We can bring these futures into the present and identify various possible solutions. And the reason why we kept Design Lab as a separate entity was so that we are not trying to think of every technology or every sort of speculated future as a means of a solution that goes into our softwares. We wanted to sort of create that distinction between production ready designs and the design process and critical thinking. So that is the reason why we created a separate group called Design Lab at Adobe. And though it's a separate group, we have people coming in and sort of spending time in discussions within a lab sort of space. So think of it as being this space in your lives where we go to when you want to have uh, deeper conversations with yourself or with your work. You enter that space, you shut off all sort of noises around you, and you enjoy that process just for the sake of the process itself, and not having it, anything to weigh you down in terms of production and releases and all the business terms. So that is the reason why Design Lab is a slightly separate space from the usual Adobe design team.
But that's exciting, and I'm sure that I'm taking this as an invitation to come down sometime and see the lab in real physical space. And I'm sure some of our listeners may also receive that opportunity, possibly.
Definitely, definitely. I think we are all looking forward to this new year to be able to sort of go back and sort of meet each other and have those discussions in person around a table instead of video calls and stuff. So absolutely, you're more than welcome to sort of reach out to me, and we can have more discussions around this.
In fact, one of the things, Prabhat, that you mentioned in terms of things that you like, you're usually found sketching away thoughts in your sketchbook or doodling in your head while even attending meetings. Does this process actually help with new ideas or structuring your thoughts? How does it really help you?
I use my sketchbook as a means of having a conversation with myself. When I'm sketching, be it during a meeting or out on the streets, I feel I'm not just listening or watching what's going on, but also breaking it down into what I'm feeling. Some people might see such folks as being distracted, but I've realized it's the opposite. It allows me to take notes and build up on my thoughts at the same time. And definitely, in case the meeting was in fact non productive, I at least have a sketch at the end of it.
Hey, did you know more than 8 billion electronic and digital signature transactions were processed through Adobe Document Cloud In the past year, the majority of Fortune 100 companies rely on Adobe Sign for fast, secure e signatures. That in turn, every 1 million Adobe Sign transactions save 105 million liters of water, 31,000 trees, and the equivalent of taking 2,300 cars off the road for a year, plus reducing the cost by more than $7.2 million. That's a very interesting way of looking at it, saying that, hey, it's an exciting means for me to interact with myself and further leading to structuring your thoughts. In fact, one of the other things that you mentioned very candidly is that you prefer to be learning from all the awesome folks you work with. My question is, can you share some of your learning experiences, with our listeners, with these people whom you work with, people who've impacted your journey, and what have you learned from them? Would you like to quote few of them?
First of all, I'm so grateful to be working with such amazing beings around me. I believe a strong team is always a sum of its parts. And these parts could be made of folks having different personal strengths, stories, individualities. But I've also realized that teams don't need to be just the people you work with. It could be the stranger you have spoken with just once, the person who brought you tea at the stall, or even your close ones. I would like to think that everyone I have met at any point in my life, high or low, has added to my growth as a creative, but more importantly, as a human.
Okay, and would you want to specify any specific individuals with our listeners who've impacted your journey, and what have you learned from them?
I think the first person that comes to my mind would be Jaideep Datta, who I believe you have also spoken to on your podcast.
Absolutely, he was one of our guests.
Yes, so he was actually the person who brought me into Adobe when I myself wasn't very sure whether I fit the role. I think he encouraged me and made me look at what I had to offer to this role beyond just the design skills and bring myself fully into this role. Along with Jaideep, I had the opportunity to work with Sridhar Ranganathan, who was the lead designer at Adobe when I joined. It was from Sridhar that I learned the nuts and bolts of how to go about thinking and designing for user experience within our apps, how to bring the learning from product and industrial design back into the softwares that we are looking at. So Sridhar was one. Along with that, I would say the current team that I have, which is called the Design Lab, we have some amazing folks from new media design at National Institute of Design. We have people from MIT Media Labs. Along with that, we have great program managers, and I feel every day while at work, I get to learn new things from each of these individuals, and that's what makes this place such an exciting workplace for me. You know, you look forward to learning something which these people are so passionate about. They bring back articles, they bring back videos, they bring back conversations. We have a lot of debates. There's a lot of critical thinking going about at labs, and that is why I feel I'm quite blessed to be around such people and getting to learn from them.
Wow, that's really exciting to know, and it's always amazing to reflect back on people from whom you've learned and people who've shaped your professional journey. In fact, moving to my next question, Prabhat, One of the challenges that we see around is expressing oneself. Storytelling definitely goes out and makes that entire aspect very easy. We would like you to share with our listeners how storytelling has helped you throughout your design journey.
I feel everyone doesn't need to tell stories the same way. That would be a pretty boring world, right? So some people tell their stories through words, some through animation, uh, some through sketches. For me, it's been drawing, sketching. I enjoy using design problems as a subject for sketching in free time, which in turn allows me to explore the problem in a more fun, involved manner. It allows me to explore different possibilities in my head, have a conversation with myself, and finally allow me to create a narrative for the listeners. It's almost like storyboarding, so to say, uh, having the main characters, creating an environment in which your design problem sits, what is each character doing, and for everyone they need to identify their own mediums of storytelling. For me, it has been sketching, but for you it might be talking to different people, getting to learn from what they have to say and build upon that. So that is how I feel storytelling has helped me grow as a designer and as a creative.
Prabhat, you head the design lab at Adobe, a team that explores emerging technologies and their potential to enable new opportunities in creative thinking and expression. My question is, what is the work that's done at Adobe Design Lab? What do you guys exactly do at this lab separately?
So at the Adobe Design Lab, we often work through design-led research, speculative design projects, art installations, and creative workshops to enable experiences between people and digital systems, as well as new forms of creative expression. At an Uber level, we see technologies as design materials as we work by understanding their properties and sometimes even imagining new properties for these materials. The technologies that we explore are situated in a fluid and emergent landscape, and therefore our processes constantly evolve in response to the material that we are designing with. In short, at Design Labs, we design tools that amplify the world's ability to create and communicate.
Prabhat, innovation is a crucial requirement for any business in today's world. It offers an opportunity to differentiate yourself from the competition. And as the saying goes, it's not about the ideas, it's about making ideas happen. My question is, what trajectory should designers follow to take their ideas to the next level?
I think this is the best time for designers to be able to see their ideas out there in the world. We have so many opportunities like sites like Kickstarter, right? Which allow you to not wait for somebody to give an approval to your idea. And it is so easy with social networks to connect with the right folks who associate themselves with your idea, who add to your idea and can make it happen. So I would say, as designers, we should make use of this opportunity that exists today. Try and collaborate with people, not just within our own companies or within our own groups, but we can definitely reach out to anybody across the world and work on a project. So my suggestion would be to not wait for an approval, go out there and sort of make it happen.
Interesting. In fact, it's the execution that is absolutely important. And as the saying said, that making ideas happen. So ideation is one process, but going out and executing those ideas is equally important. Moving to my next one, from the domain that you operate in, Prabhat, creative thinking is the process of nurturing your imagination, allowing you to think out of the box. When it comes to creativity, one of the biggest concerns is usually how we can be more creative or come up with better ideas. My question is, why is creative thinking essential, and how designers can boost their creative thinking?
A simple solution that we try at design labs is to reterm creative thinking as creatively thinking. Uh, Thinking is a process, and solutions can vary based on how you are thinking, what mind space you are in. So, what we try to do at Design Lab is try using different mediums of conversation, of brainstorming, creating stories, adding randomization to the process. Because at the end of it, design is about the process itself. So find interesting ways of going through that process, and you would have interesting solutions at the end of the journey.
Hey, did you know over 90% of the world's creative professionals use Adobe Photoshop? Behance, Adobe's online creative community, has over 24 million members. Creatives worldwide use Behance to showcase work and find inspiration. Wow, that's very well put in terms of how can you actually think through in terms of coming up with newer ideas and start thinking out the box. Companies are in constant pursuit of building simple and usable products and more features, say new technologies and advanced capabilities, but still in lightweight and simple to use format. More often than not, making it simple is the hardest thing there can be. What's your definition of simplicity, and how do you apply it to product designing?
I believe simplicity or minimalism in design is a bit overused. And there is a very fine line between making something simple and oversimplifying things. I think as designers, our focus should be about, is it simple enough for the end user? Or are we even looking at the right set of end users? More often, we get into a rut of a design process. We design something, validate it with a couple of users. They either say a yes or a no, and we come back to the drawing board or move over to the development process. I think that needs to sort of change with how the technology is changing, of how the prototyping capabilities are changing across the industry, of how open the term design is becoming within the industry itself. We need to relook at asking the right questions, and not just focusing on providing simple solutions. I think the questions need to be complex, and only then they would lead to simple solutions. I keep asking the folks around me, hey, it is okay to sort of validate your solution with the actual user that you are looking at for the apps from the data that you have received from research. But did you try showing this to your parents? How did they find the solution? Did they even understand the solution? Maybe that security person is the best user to break any bias that you might have for your solutions, right? So I would say our definition of design and how we approach it needs to sort of change. We need to sort of open ourselves to more critical thinking. The design needs to be first usable instead of just sort of simple, and based on the product, based on who and what you are designing for. You need to sort of walk that wire between making something simple and making something over simplified to the point that it not being useful to a user who's looking for maybe a complex piece of equipment to design with. It's like designing a cockpit of a plane, right? Yes, you can make it simple, but you also need to sort of balance it out with having just the right uh, technology and the right usefulness associated with your solutions.
Interesting. In fact, while you were talking about the approach to design, my next question, is based on that. In fact, integrating a culture of continuous experimentation into the product design process is essential for elevating the user experience and boosting a company's bottom line. It builds a variety of solutions to determine which one works best quickly. Could you explain deeply what experimental product design is and how to improve user experience through experimental product design?
So, experimental product design, I would say, is more about experimental process design. It is as the word exists, experimental, right? It needs to be built into the culture of the team who is designing. We need to allow for thinking crazy. We need to allow for failing often. We need to build a space for having critical discussions instead of just trying to solve a problem, or directly sort of porting a technology into a design solution. And that is what I understand from experimental product design. It is more about the space, the conversations, the learning, rather than the final design itself.
Design and innovation had received new attention over last few decades, Prabhat. However, not primarily in the sense of making things aesthetically more appealing, making devices smarter or more innovative, but rather as a means and as a tool for creating sustainable futures by bringing forth innovations. The question that I have, and the angle that I need to move towards is, what is the role of technology in design and innovation? How's that changing? Because at the end of the day, I see Adobe is a technology company, and while you are talking about design and creativity, how's technology shaping all of this is what I want to know.
So technology and designs have been used as different words for a long time, one coming after another. In the past, either it was technology first and a solution was designed around it, or we came up with a design problem, user need, and identify technologies that could enable us to solve that problem. But the way things are looking now, with how fast and blurred this difference between technology, prototyping, engineering, development, design, ideation, is happening. We at Design Labs have started thinking of technology not as a separate task which follows design or comes before it, but has to go alongside. I think technology needs to be looked at as a new tool that designers can use in their design process. It has become so easy these days to learn about new technologies, try them out by yourself, and more importantly, be able to play around with it. And that in itself allows for more ideas of how you can use that technology in a more fun, useful manner for our users. So instead of sort of looking at design and technology differently, I think designers should embrace thinking, talking, ideating with technologies at the back of their heads, and sort of building on top of that.
Prabhat, at Avantika University, we coined this term designeering, which is the blended approach of design and engineering. And while you head the design lab at Adobe, where do you think both these words meet? And do you think it's a relevant philosophy to coach the future talent on?
Absolutely, 100%. For us as design labs, design and technology are indistinguishable. I feel we can no longer look at one without the other. As much as technology affects the users should be able to define the role that technology plays in our lives now and in the future. We need to be mindful of how our products and the technologies they use define how the creatives of tomorrow are going to create and think. So I really love the word designeering that you guys have come up with.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhat, so much for validating this and sharing your thoughts and journey with us on our show. It was a pleasure hosting you on our show. And I'm sure that our listeners will have a lot of learning from this conversation.
Thank you, Rohit, again for inviting me. It was a pleasure to sort of go back into fond memories and bring back those thoughts to you and the listeners. Thank you so much.
Hey there, we hope you enjoyed our show. Do write to us on ads@avantika.edu.in. We look forward to your opinions, feedbacks, and suggestions of speakers you would like us to host on this show. Do tune in our channel next week on Wednesday for a new story on Hubhopper or wherever you get your podcast from. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter.